As we come back, there are 2 thrones ringside for 2 queens to look on for the next match.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest, scheduled for one fall, is the G1 Finale. First, representing Ring of Honor, she is Awesome Kong.
Both of them were Japan homegrowns as Asuka would just smile at her. Kong just standing there intense, pacing back and forth as Asuka would remove her robe. The referee would go over the instructions as if, well, you really need to, knowing that these two are going to destroy each other. The bell sounded as they moved to the center of the ring. They would stare each other down as Kong swung, Asuka ducking and started striking at Kong, avoiding another strike and started kicking and punching. She caught Kong right over the nose with a palm thrust, stunning her and knocked her to the buckle. She would explode with rights and lefts, kicking at her, trying to toss her. But Kong Irish whipped her up and over to the outside. Asuka hit hard as Kong went after her, tackling her right into the post. She grabbed her by the head and just swung her right into the barricade. She would stomp on her, raising her up by the throat and started to just choke her, pushing her back to the post and tossed her back into the ring. Kong rolling inside and would stomp upon her, locking her within a side headlock. She would wrench on her as Asuka slowly would rise, sliding free and caught her with an enziguri to the back of the head. That quickly dropped her down to her knees as she quickly dropped her with a drop kick to the knee, then a bulldog. Kong was down, and quickly Asuka would lock her within a triangle choke, quickly latching on, trying to squeeze the life out of her. Kong would struggle to break free, coughing as Asuka drop-kicked her spine, having her dangle over the rope as Asuka moved to the apron and bashed her head with a running knee. Kong would back up, holding her head, Asuka leaping from the rope, but that was a big mistake. Kong catching her, shaking her head, and tossed her with a press slam, followed by a leg drop. Only getting a 2. Kong dragged her up, pushing her to the buckle and would splash her. Then a second time, setting her on top and climbed up. Asuka fighting and pushed her off, getting her balance. But Kong was just a little too fast, grabbing her and just flung her right off. She charged and dropped her with one hell of a clothesline, almost roaring out as she pulled Asuka up and dropped her with a suplex. She slowly rose, looking over at the two champions, pointing at them, and went right back to Asuka, dropping her with a German suplex. She would rise, looking at her, slowly rise to her feet, grabbing Asuka and dropped her with a second one. She would almost smile down at her as Asuka rose, getting slammed for her efforts as Kong splashed her, covering only for 2. Kong had absolute ring control as she dragged her up, locking her in a bear hug and would just squeeze tightly. Asuka struggled to break free, doing the only thing she could, and would break free with a headbutt, hitting forearm shots and a spin kick to the ribs, coming off the rope, trying for a clothesline. And then another, going for the third, but she slid onto the legs, locking her in a sleeper, wrapping the legs around. Kong wasn't going to last long on this as she grabbed a hold and dropped her with a backpack stunner counter. She watched and waited, catching her with a clothesline right to the outside. Kong waited inside the ring, looking over to Sasha and Flair, smiling at both of them as both of them clutched their titles just a little bit closer. Kong going to the floor, pulling Asuka up and slammed her again right into the post. He tossed her right into the ring, climbing the apron as Asuka blasted her with a kick to the skull, grabbing her head and went to slam it into the post. Kong though would block and bash her head into the buckle. Climbing inside as Asuka tackled her to the buckle the best she could, striking at her ribs as Kong just grabbed her and just shoved her back. Asuka would roll to her feet, charging, but got a clothesline for her effort. No! She was actually able to counter it with a crucifix, squeezing her legs around, wrapping tightly, trying to wear Kong down. Kong slowly would start to power out. Asuka landing on her feet and would drop kick at the knees, quickly locking her within a side headlock. She wrenched and pulled as Kong slowly would rise, powering out and just took her head off with a clothesline. She came off the rope, but her knee actually buckled. Asuka taking that chance and blasted her with a risen knee to the face, a spin kick across the head, stunning her and locked her again in a front face lock. She tried for that DDT, but Kong countered, raising her up and just tossed her away. She would charge forward as Asuka pulled the rope down, watching Kong go up and over to the floor. She then quickly moved to the top rope, holding her balance and leapt off, crashing upon Kong, who caught her. She shook her head no and tossed her with a fall-away slam over the announcer's table right into their laps. Asuka slowly dragged herself from the wreckage. She was on wobbly legs as Kong called her on. Asuka sliding into the ring with a wild swing as Kong caught her, raising her up by the throat and just tossed her to the rope and then dropped her with a belly-to-back suplex. She laid her out and covered her. Only on a 2. Kong would drag her up, looking at Sasha and Charlotte, raising Asuka up and went for a powerbomb, but Asuka punched her square in the face, then again and again and again, landing on her feet and nailed her with a spin kick across the head. She mixed it up with punches and strikes, ducking a punch and went for a slam. Kong blocking with a shot to the spine, then a standing back body drop. She would choke Asuka with the rope, looking over at the champs again, who are arguing now with each other. Sasha rising from her chair and walked down to the ring, yelling at Asuka to fight better as Charlotte ran down, now getting into a shouting match with Sasha. Back in the ring, Kong had Asuka back to the corner, missing a big splash as Asuka swept the back of her leg, dropping her down and went for a leg lock, spinning, but she was pushed to the buckle, bouncing off as Kong dropped her with a release dragon suplex. She beat her chest that was going to be the end of it, holding her up for the implant buster. But Asuka would kick free, blessing Kong with a hard thrust to the face, backing away and caught her with a standing enziguri, dropping her to her knees, then blasted her with a knee right to the face. She smiled down at her, waiting for her to rise, turning her attention just slightly to the outside, where Sasha cold-cocked Charlotte. She yelled down at her and walked around, yelling at both women that neither of them could hold a candle to her, climbing the apron as Asuka caught her over the head with a kick. She dropped her down, but didn't see Kong rise, tackling her to the buckle chest first. She slowly set her on top and would climb up, grabbing Asuka and dropped her with a super backdrop, crashing hard. It was over now as she pulled her up, raising her for the awesome bomb, but Asuka spun her body around, quickly getting behind her, lashing her for the Asuka lock. But Kong rammed her into the buckle, then a second time, turning around and went for a clothesline. But Asuka ducked and went for the lock a second time, kicking to the back of her knee, then dropped Kong down. She locked her in, keeping her legs wrapped around as Kong was struggling to get free, trying to use her girth and size to power out, as Asuka had it latched in perfectly, refusing to let go, trying to wear Kong down. Sasha would climb the apron, trying to get inside, and she was grabbed by Charlotte as both of them now started to brawl on the outside. Back in the ring, Kong was almost out, struggling to get out as Asuka yelled out almost like a war cry. The ref going over as Kong had a wild look in her eye. She looked mad and she slowly started to pull Asuka's arm, fighting out of it, and turned around and decked her square in the face. That obviously broke the hold as she rose up, grabbing her legs and would slingshot her right into the buckle. She watched her bounce off and slammed her with the awesome bomb, covering. But Asuka somehow locked her in a layout neck vice, wrapping the legs around her neck, strangling her, forcing the break. Both women rose with Asuka striking with a kick to the ribs, going for a DDT as Kong rose her up and tossed her to the outside, crashing upon Sasha and Flair. She shook her head, going right to the floor, grabbing Asuka and tossed her inside, having enough of this as she went for the implant buster and slammed her down. She went for the cover, but Sasha was in the ring, the ref having to get her out as Kong rose up, shoving the ref out of the way as Kong grabbed Sasha, picking her up and just tossed her across the ring. She then charged and headed with a clothesline up and over to the floor, going back for Asuka, who caught her with a drop toe hold right into the rope. They quickly locked her within the Asuka lock. She had it again, once again, reapplied as the ref came to, moving over to check on Kong, who was struggling. Banks climbing the apron once again, but she got pulled down by Charlotte, and both of them began to brawl once again. Kong was a bit too far from the ropes as he tried to fight free, struggling here as officials came down to break the brawl on the outside, needing some sort of order as Asuka yelled out as the referee leaned over.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is your winner of G1, Asuka!
Charlotte and Sasha almost stopped in mid-motion, realizing that Asuka just choked out Awesome Kong. She defeated Sarah Del Rey, conquering the two women who had a draw last year to earn her spot as G1 winner and a future title shot of whomever was holding the gold. Asuka being given the G1 trophy as she moves it up, leaning over the rope, looking at both champions, licking her lips. With smirk down at both of them as Charlotte and Sasha slowly backed up the ramp. Asuka shocking the world here tonight, not knowing which title she wanted, but knew that both of them were on her death list.